to It Happened in Grand Prairie, Texas. As we bring you the history of our city and some of the people that have had a great part in making that history and are even making history this very day. And this is our history tape number 666, which is not a pleasant number to some of us that look at that with disdain, but today we look at it with glory because we have one of the most wonderful young men on the set today to give this history a real go around. And we're just so pleased to have that he is still serving as the fire chief of Grand Prairie, Texas, but he's already given notice that he's going to maybe make other kinds of history in his life. And we're just so pleased to introduce to you a very special young man. And Chief?
Yes, ma'am.
Chief Cliff Nelson, welcome to the set.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
I never did think we would get you in this corner.
I tried to avoid it as long as I could.
Oh, I know you did, and we're just so pleased to have you here. And I know the people of Grand Prairie are glad to know about some of the things that you'll tell us about yourself. And I'd like for you to begin the interview, with your permission, if you'll give us the name of your parents and give us your mother's maiden name and the siblings that you had when you, but not very much farther than that, just to do the naming because we're going to ask you about some of them.
Sure, be glad to. My mother and dad is Clifton Nelson, and my mother is Alita Nelson. And they were both born in Wills Point, and I was born in Wills Point.
Oh, Wills Point, Texas. That's in the good part of East Texas, isn't it?
Yes. I had two brothers. One is deceased now, Marty Nelson.
Marty is deceased,
yes.
But let's mark him as a very important person in your life, too.
And then my youngest brother, Stephen, he's in Grand Prairie, lives here also.
Okay. That's wonderful. And living in Wills Point, you stayed in Wills Point with your parents how long before you got an opportunity to move into the Grand Prairie area?
It was when I was about age 5. My mother and dad moved to Grand Prairie.
Yes.
And that was in 1960. So I've been here since then.
You've been here 1960s was the magic date. That has a 6 in it also. You're running into those 6s, aren't you?
Yes.
All right. And when you got here and you were 5, was there a school for you to attend, or did you have to wait a year?
I did have to wait a year. My birthday is in October, like yours.
Yes, yes.
So because of that, I had to wait a little bit longer and started to school at Lamar Elementary.
At Lamar, Lamar. I've got to get all that down on my good notice, because Lamar is down near Fannin School, where we all went. So
yes, we were at Northeast 20th and Walnut was where Lamar is located.
And what did your dad do for a living?
He was in the military, U.S. Navy.
He was in the Navy.
That's what brought him to Grand Prairie when he was stationed at NAS Dallas.
Ah. And did you live on the site down there?
No, we didn't. We actually lived on, I believe the street name was Dabney.
Yes.
And that street no longer exists. It's in the flight zone. And that was the first house that we moved to in Grand Prairie.
Did your mother work out of the home, or did she?
She worked out of the home.
Okay.
And she was there for us and helped in PTA and all of those things.
Oh, and she did the PTA at Lamar?
Yes.
And all of these good things. And were you happy at Lamar?
It was some of the most enjoyable days, all of my school days in Grand Prairie, but Lamar's where I built friendships that still remain today, and we stay in contact with some of the classmates that I had in the 1st and 2nd grade.
That's wonderful. Who was your favorite number 1 and number 2 teacher at Lamar?
Probably my 2nd grade teacher, Miss Fletcher, but equally I had a 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Eastridge, and then a 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Wooldridge, and they were all just like relatives to me.
Yes,
Enjoyed
and the
all
Wooldridges are still here in town.
They sure are.
And all that, and you still have them as friends because they're movers and shakers in this town of Grand Prairie. Well, and after Lamar, did you play football or anything like that, or was it all school?
No, I actually was in athletics. In the 5th grade, we were allowed to play, and then when I was in the 6th grade, which was still elementary school, I guess it was UIL decided that we couldn't play, so I had to wait until I was in the 7th when I moved to Jefferson Middle School.
And Jefferson became the next school.
Yes. We called it junior high at that time. And that was the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade.
Okay, moving to Jefferson from Lamar, what kind of a shock was that to you, or did you like it all and all the people that it brought together?
It was not near what I expected. I think I was braced for something that I did not know, and when I arrived there, it was very pleasant. Enjoyed all my 3 years there.
Okay, well, that was 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Yes.
And Jefferson Junior High was a real newer school than Lamar. So that made it wonderful. Who was your most favorite people?
There is a very long list of teachers and people. I know the principal there I became very good friends with was Marvin Vale, the late Marvin Vale.
Mr. Vale.
Had some excellent teachers. Buddy Berry, who I think worked some 40 years in the Grand Prairie School District, was one of my coaches. Mrs. Kiesler was a speech teacher that was just like a grandmother to me, and Mrs. Boyd, and
yes.
The list just goes on.
Just
and
goes
on.
Yes. All of them were your favorites.
They were all favorite. When I was in the 9th grade, there was a teacher who is still teaching in Grand Prairie. That was her first year. She was a rookie English teacher. She is Kay White now, and I enjoyed her and still stay in contact with her some now.
That's wonderful. But of all of these teachers that you had, you're going to pick me out 3 of the greatest, not in athletics, but in your studies, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about athletics if you were involved in that.
Okay. I had a teacher that was an English teacher, Mrs. Tarrant. She was very strict.
Oh, yeah.
But she was someone I think I picked up a lot of knowledge from at the early years of junior high school, and I appreciated her. She may not have been the most glamorous. She was down to earth, down to business, and meant business, but I enjoyed and respected her greatly.
Greatly.
I sure did. There was some other teachers. I would have to say probably some of my math teachers.
Yes.
Mrs. Pels. She was a very young teacher at that time, and she was trying to encourage me to go into the military and become a pilot because of some of the math skills, I guess, that I expressed or showed to her in class.
And did you tell her your dad was in the Navy?
I told her I didn't quite want to go that direction, but she was very encouraging and very good at math and helped me tremendously. And this Mrs. Kiesler, I would have to say she was at the top. She taught us so many things, not just in speech, but so many life lessons.
How to live.
How to live, and the other people in this world that have lived, and good traits and characteristics to follow up with. And she was one of those individuals that was always pulling at your heartstrings, and I enjoyed her very much.
Graduating from Jefferson Middle School, what was next on your list?
My list next was to go to Grand Prairie High School, but my parents moved into South Grand Prairie at that time.
And they ruined your business
I was
choices.
a little bit torn there, but went to South Grand Prairie High School in the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and enjoyed those days immensely also.
You became a warrior.
I did.
Did it take you long to change from a gopher to a warrior?
You know, coming up from 1st grade through the 9th grade, we bought the ribbons that you would wear, and always went to the Gopher Bowl and watched the Gopher games and some of those tremendous teams.
Yeah.
And it was a change when I knew I was going to be going to South Grand Prairie High School.
Yes.
Bill Young was the coach at Grand Prairie High School at the time, and all of his staff, Lee King and many of those others.
All of your good friends.
Good friends, and all of the friends I developed at Adams Middle School and Jefferson Junior High School and Lee Junior High School. We were all athletes and competitors together. So I left that group and went to the school that Jackson Junior High School fed into, and that was South Grand Prairie.
Did we miss Lee in this situation? Who was the principal there?
You know, I don't recall who the principal was at Lee. I know Ken Murray, the late Ken Murray, was a coach at Lee.
There.
And he was very, he had coached some at South Grand Prairie too.
Did you have one favorite teacher or coach or person we better put something in there for Lee Middle School?
You know, I know that Ken Murray was one of those tremendous individuals that was able to bring out the best in all of us at that time.
He meant a lot to the mayor.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. He was a jewel.
He was always an encourager. Buddy Berry the same way at Jefferson. I even substitute taught in some of the schools that Buddy Berry was a principal at when I was out of college. And so I've stayed in contact with them and really today I'm a close neighbor to Buddy Berry, and always stayed in contact with Ken Murray. He was always one of those encouragers throughout my life.
Yeah, okay. We've got scrounge that in between all of those others because we don't want to miss Lee Middle School because it has turned out to be a real jewel now at this time. Okay, and the first year at South was so-so?
You know, it was interesting because both Jackson Junior High School and South Grand Prairie High School were in the same building.
Oh, in the same
We
building.
were in the, what is called now the ninth grade center.
Ninth grade
but
center.
We always knew it as Jackson Junior High.
Uh-huh.
The junior high school was on the north wing and the high school was on the south wing. And they were building South Grand Prairie High School when I was in the 10th grade and 11th grade. And eventually, the 12th grade, my senior year, we were having some classes in the new school building.
But Jackson Junior High was still part of South
It
Grand
was.
Prairie High for its beginning.
Yes, and it was smaller. Obviously, it was a new school, not nearly as
And
large.
it's still there.
It's still there. Grand Prairie High School was much more traditionally developed, and
Yes.
lots of people, lots of individuals, alumni, and South Grand Prairie was just in its beginning at that time. In fact, I was in the 5th graduating class.
Okay, we're going to move Jackson Junior High sort of in that direction, but it's still South. And of all of the things that you tolerated when you got into South, when it became a building of its own, how did you feel about that?
You know, it was nice. It was brand new,
Oh,
state
yeah.
of the art.
Who was the first principal?
Mr. Head, Gene Head, was the principal, and I believe he was the principal during my entire stay at South Grand Prairie High School.
Okay. He was a mean guy, and he stayed with his all of his faculties.
He was very stern, and
very stern.
the late Eddie Patton was similarly that
Yes,
way, and
yes.
he really
So they
made us
all
walk
worked-
a tight line.
What year did you graduate from
In
South?
1974,
1974. You were a senior
yes,
at South.
and graduated in spring of 74.
74. And what did you think about getting ready to graduate and leaving a school that you didn't want to go to in the first place, and then came to love greatly?
It was home, but I know that was part of our transition in life, and I made that transition fairly smoothly.
Yes.
And still stayed in contact with teachers at that time. And
Yeah. Favorite teacher of all of your South activities?
probably the one I related to the most was Jim Wallace. He taught psychology and sociology, and I had several classes with him, and he was one that was very enjoyable to be around and learn from. An English teacher that was there also, Mrs. Strange, Judy Strange. She was very encouraging and helpful. But there were a lot of other teachers that were just as important, but those probably stood out, the English and the psychology.
We've written off South now.
Okay.
What are you going to do?
I left South and decided to go to Dallas Baptist College at that time.
Okay.
And was looking at other opportunities, but Dallas Baptist was close to home, and was able to get some scholarships athletically and also academically, and I chose Dallas Baptist.
For how many years?
I went there 1 year, and at that time, Dallas Baptist campus in a college setting was very much different than what it is today.
Yes,
It's
what
now
it is
Dallas
today.
Baptist University.
University.
I've had 2 of my children graduate from Dallas Baptist University, but I immediately left and finished my degree at UTA in Arlington.
UTA.
Yes, University of Texas at Arlington.
That's where you graduated.
Graduated from there in 1978. And life began to take off from there.
Well, I want you to know that I had a granddaughter that went to Dallas Baptist University, and her name was Allison Clemson, and she found a young man there named Steve Allison, and now her name is Allison Allison.
I remember that.
Oh my, that was, and you had Mr. Jackson cheering for a Baptist college and university like he was a member of the staff. He loved that activity.
It's a fabulous setting
It's a
and university.
fabulous Baptist university.
Yes.
Okay, now we've gotten you graduated from UTA. Was there any special thing about UTA? You just glad to get out and get your degree?
Well, you know, it was interesting. It was the biggest adjustment from all the transitions from school campuses.
Yes.
UTA was so large,
You had to
30,000
go from room
students.
to building to whatever.
I remember getting into some trouble. I was attending a history class with about 300 other students, and somehow they got me mixed up and sent a letter to my parents that I had not have been attending class.
Oh my!
And it was a failure on the instructor or the professor's part. He just
Yeah.
got me mixed up in my seat number.
Uh-huh.
I had been there all along, and
Yeah.
but yeah, that was a large campus. Walking and moving, I didn't know if I could complete that or not, but
What was your
fortunately I
major?
did. It was in criminal justice.
Criminal justice.
Yes. And I have two daughters that have graduated from there also. So one went on to get her master's from Dallas Baptist University.
After all of this, had you become a married or a father or anything right after the college?
In 1978, when I graduated in May, I had already applied for the fire department and was fortunate to be hired in September of 1978. And in May...
In Grand Prairie?
In Grand Prairie. And also in May, my wife Lisa and I were married on May the 13th in 1978, so that was a very big year. And my first day at work...
Who was the chief of police when you came into the police department? I mean,
the fire department?
Fire department.
At that time, I was hired. It was interesting because they had a director of public safety at the time. The actual fire chief was Bob Langford.
Bob Langford.
But I interviewed, along with Bob Langford, with Mr. Conover, Fred Conover, who was the director of public safety.
Uh-huh.
And then there was an assistant city manager, Doug Driggers. Those were the three individuals I actually interviewed with, but Bob Langford was my direct supervisor as the fire chief.
Okay. And where was the fire department located that you were assigned to?
The first station I was assigned to was the existing Station 3 on Robinson Road. And I had not even been through training yet, but they assigned me there until my training days were starting in December.
Mm-hmm. That was wonderful. Well, and you've gone all the way from that number 3 fire station to, I guess, one of the best ones, fire station number 1. And now you're getting ready to get a new fire station number 1.
We're looking forward to that.
Yes. And you have a part of this building we're in today for fire instructions.
Yes, this training center.
This is a training center.
The Charles V. England Training Center.
You've just been busy.
It has been a whirlwind, to say the least.
Uh-huh. Of all the things that you've done as fire chief, tell me the most exciting and the one that you are prouder of just because of its name.
You know, you look at buildings and we look at fire station number 9 on Polo Road. That's very, very appealing. Station number 7 that was built and opened up 2 years ago is state of the art. I enjoy looking at those things in this building, the Charles V. England Training Center. Mm-hmm. But I think the most important thing that sticks in my mind is the reputation and the character that all of the members of this department represent. And that means as much to me as any of the buildings.
Yes.
Or the trucks or the engines.
Or the engines. And how would you like for me to list that?
You know, it's just the
character of your
it's
employees.
The integrity, the respect, what they have been able to achieve over the 34 years I've been here, not just in Grand Prairie, but in all the region. Today, the hospitals that respect our individual personnel, we have a high degree of character and respect, and I appreciate that as much as anything.
Now you've got to talk about that little girl that came in when you were in about 1978. Let's get her name and before she married.
Her maiden name is Lisa Pike.
P-I-K-E?
Yes. And we actually met on campus at South Grand Prairie High School.
All right.
And we married in 1978 and have resided in Grand Prairie ever since.
Okay. And you have how many children?
3 children.
3 children, name them.
Amanda was born in 1982. Allison was born in 1986. And Sean was born in 1990. And after those 3 children were born was about the time I began to work in the administrative area of the fire department. I was on shift during that entire period.
And that would be in probably what year?
In 1990, in the August of 1990, is when I left the fire station assignment and was put in more of the 8-hour or 40-day office type environment assignment.
Now give me one more time what you went to from August 1990, from just the regular fire department work.
The shift work to the office work in August of 1990. Yes.
A lot of paperwork.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
I underestimated the amount of paperwork.
Yes. And of all of the years that you've worked, not only in the fire department, but in the office work and all, which comes to you as being so necessary to help all of the people that came in under your direction?
Probably patience is the biggest quality that you can have. Understanding also applies there too.
Patience is a key word. Okay. When did you decide you were going to quit all of this good stuff and look for the other end of the earth?
In our work industry, not many individuals work beyond 30 years. And I knew that about 4 years ago I needed to start looking at my plans.
What's your plans for the...
About 2 years ago, when I had completed 32 years, I knew I needed to start establishing a exit point.
And how many years will all the total be when you drop the hammer on them and leave here?
34 years and 2 months.
34 years and 2 months. Okay. Now, we're getting down to 22 minutes is all we have left. And I need to do a little short speech here, and then I'm going to come back, and then I want you to be thinking up a most gracious thank you to everyone in Grand Prairie that made your life worth living.
Thank you very much.
Plus, ladies and gentlemen, I have a couple of 3 special announcements to make. First of all, the Grand Prairie Lights begin at Prairie Lights on November the 22nd through December the 21st. Keep your eyes peeled for all of the information that'll come out on November the 22nd, because it's going to be wonderful and you'll love every minute that you use using the Prairie Lights as your guide to South Grand Prairie and all the things that happen there. The Rockettes are going to perform at Verizon Theater, and that's a wonderful group that comes in from up in the north. They're Yankees, but they're all beautiful girls mostly, and have beautiful long legs and beautiful hair, and they'll make you know that you're in a group of ladies that really are important, and the entire group that comes before us. That's going to be a real happening, so watch everything. And 972-854-5110 is the number to call if you're interested in this. Also, Veterans Day now is a ceremony on November the 11th. We're staying with the date that is magic, and it's on a Sunday. And it's going to be a wonderful happening at 2 p.m. on that Sunday, November the 11th, at the Veterans Memorial Center in Grand Prairie, Texas. It's going to have a 21-gun salute, a flyover, many other things to honor all of those that have served in the military. 972-237-8100 is the magic number for you to find any more you want to know about that. And now, we want to get back to you with your permission, Your Majesty. Fire Chief of the Century. You're going to have to be the Fire Chief of the Century. I was not the Fire Chief, but I was the Citizen of the Century, and I'm allowed to appoint some people that are real special as the Fire Chief of the Century for Grand Prairie, Texas. And I'd like for you to look out into your guest camera and thank everyone on your heart. And we can go to, you have 2 minutes to do that.
Thank you very much, Ruthie. It's a humbling experience. It's been a very nice experience.
Talk to them.
I can't express my gratitude to the voters, to the elected officials, to my friends, family, neighbors, church members that have helped support me and encourage me through the years. no one individual can accomplish 34 years of public service without others around them helping tremendously. And really the public servants, the police and the fire, and all of those who work in city government in Grand Prairie have been tremendous in supporting me through my years. And I can't thank everyone enough, but I do want to say I appreciate it very much, and I will continue living in Grand Prairie and hopefully continue contributing in some way to this great city.
Now I would like for you to thank your family, your wife, and the children, please.
My family is very important, most important. They've helped me through the long hours, the sleepless nights, and all of my family, including my father-in-law who is still alive, my mother and brother, and my father who is deceased, but I appreciate all their support. I couldn't have built a foundation without them.
And how about your wife and the children?
Lisa and Amanda and Allison and Sean, they every day give me some support and encouragement. And I do thank them as often as I can and will continue to do that even into retirement.
And I would like to take this opportunity to thank you now for being with us today and opening your heart about the people that you work with, about the people that you live with, and about the people that support you in any way. And we're going to wish you Godspeed and happiness and all the other things that need to come to a family that is the family of the century, for your being our fire chief during a time when it was in a growth pattern, in a challenge pattern, and every other pattern. And thank you so much for being here today on
It's my pleasure.
number 666. And we're going to prove it to everyone that it's a wonderful happening.
Thank you very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you for watching our show. Be with us every time that we can. And remember, 666 is very important, and you're important to us and to this fire chief and all of his dedication in leaving a post that has been a blessing to him and a very big blessing to Grand Prairie, Texas. Thank you for watching our show.